Weighed down by a crushing fatigue, I stepped into the lobby of my apartment building. 2 straight days of working overtime had left me a wreck. My one and only goal was my bed on the 12th floor. But there was a problem. A plastic sign hung on the elevator doors. Under repair. You've got to be kidding me. The thought of climbing 12 flights of stairs made my world go dark. On the off chance it was a mistake, I pressed the call button. Sure enough, nothing. Just as I resigned myself to my fate and turned toward the stairwell, a ding echoed in the lobby. The elevator doors slid open. Huh? Maybe someone had just forgotten to take the sign down. I hesitated, but a little apprehension was a small price to pay to avoid the agony of the stairs. I stepped inside and pressed the buttons for floor 12 and door close. But just as the doors began to close, someone burst through the main entrance and scrambled toward me. It was a man in a grease-smeared Navy uniform, the repairman, I guessed. He was sprinting, shouting something frantically. My hand, which had been moving to hit the open button, froze. It was his face. It was grotesque. He had no eyebrows. His eyes were a bizarre mismatched pair, and he was severely cross-eyed. And beyond his appearance, there was an indescribably unsettling aura about him. To my relief, the doors slid shut faster than he could run. Just before they sealed, I caught his desperate cry.
"Don't get in! You can't take that!"
The doors closed, and a bizarre sensation took hold. Instead of ascending, I felt a gut-wrenching lurch, as if the elevator were plummeting into the deep recesses of the earth. I really shouldn't have gotten on, should I? I staggered as a wave of vertigo hit me. No, the car itself was shaking violently. I dropped to the floor, praying with everything I had that we weren't actually falling. Then I heard a soft ding, the arrival chime. I lifted my head. The digital display above the door clearly showed the number 12. Am I so exhausted I'm starting to hallucinate? It has to be sleep deprivation. People really do need to get enough sleep. I punched in the code to my door lock and stepped inside. The apartment was dark and silent. Of course it was. My wife Soyeon was away on a 2-day business trip. She used to work at the same company as me, but quit after we got married to become a successful freelance photographer. Her work often takes her out of town. I checked my phone to see if there were any new messages from her. Nothing. Then again, we'd spoken only an hour ago, so it was unlikely anything would have come up. I washed up quickly and dove straight into bed. Sleep took me almost instantly. Early the next morning, my phone's alarm jolted me awake. I must have slept soundly, because when I recalled yesterday's bizarre incident in the elevator, it felt distant, like a half-remembered dream. Then, a photo on the nightstand caught my eye. Something was wrong. In the picture, I was standing alone, looking awkward. I was sure it had been a photo of me and my wife. She must have swapped it out while I wasn't looking. Is this her way of showing she's upset with me? When I opened the door to the dressing room, the half of the closet where Soyeon's clothes should have been hanging was completely empty. Not only that, but her toothbrush, shampoo, and cosmetics were all gone too. This was truly strange. It was as if our entire married life from the past few years had evaporated into thin air. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my call history. Every record of a call with my love was gone. The name didn't even exist in my contacts. My heart plummeted. My mind went blank. My wife had vanished. How could this be? Right. This is a dream. It has to be. Just a horribly realistic nightmare. The office. I'll go to the office. I felt that if I could just get to the office, to the familiar routine of my daily life, I could prove that all of this was just a dream. A short while later, I walked into my office building. Mingling with the bustling crowd seemed to ground me, and for a moment my sense of reality felt like it was returning. But the feeling was short-lived. I froze at the scene unfolding beyond the glass doors of the PR team's office. Soyeon was sitting at her desk. the very same one she'd had before she quit. She was looking at her monitor, laughing with a coworker, completely at ease. I burst through the door and rushed in. Her eyes went wide when she saw me. It wasn't the look a woman gives her loving husband. It was a complicated mix of surprise and discomfort.
Minjin? What's wrong?
Her tone didn't hold the warmth of a wife concerned for her husband, but the formal distance of a colleague inquiring about another's well-being. The eyes of her coworkers all shot toward me. It was hopeless. How on earth could I end this dream? And why did this dream have to feel so real? Oh, no, I'm fine. Just felt a little dizzy for a second. I mumbled an excuse and stumbled toward my department. I sat at my desk, but I couldn't possibly focus on work. I had to find out what was going on. I tapped the shoulder of my colleague Taehoon, who sat at the next desk.
What's up?
Hey, it's about Soyeon.
Soyeon? You mean Soyeon from the PR team?
Yeah, Soyeon from PR. When did she come back to the company? How's she been? Taehoon stared at me as if I were an idiot.
When did Soyeon ever leave the company? Are you talking about the month-long leave she took? Right after she got married and took some time off? Man, that was ages ago. Why are you bringing that up now?
So, Soyeon got married, right? I prayed, begging for the answer to be that she had married me. To whom? I mean, how did that happen?
You're acting really weird today, man. Why are you suddenly digging up stuff from years ago? You remember that Soyeon confessed to you, right? And that after you turned her down, she immediately took a long leave of absence? Then she got married right during her time off? How could you not know that? She's been married for over 2 years. Word is she and her husband are doing great.
Doing great? Happily?
Yeah, dude. Don't even think about messing with her now. She's a taken woman.
Taehoon shot back sarcastically. The shock hit me like a sledgehammer. I was speechless. A confession, a rejection, and then marriage to another man? In this world, the me here hadn't married Soyeon. Instead, he was the one who had hurt her deeply and pushed her away. I ran to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face, and stared at my reflection in the mirror. All traces of the happiness I'd found with Soyeon over the past 2 years were gone. In their place was the face of my old self from a long time ago. Listless and empty. How could this happen? Where did it all go wrong? I desperately searched my memory. Last night, on my way home around midnight, the elevator, the under repair sign, the terrified face of the repairman running toward me, the bizarre sensation inside. Everything had been normal except for that one thing. That elevator. The elevator held the key to this entire mystery. During my lunch break, I went to find Soyeon. Could we talk for a moment? She seemed a little surprised, but nodded. We stepped into an empty conference room. An awkward silence filled the air. Now that I was actually standing in front of her, I had no idea how to even begin. Just then, something caught my eye. Soyeon was clutching her phone, and the cat charm hanging from her phone case looked familiar. It was only then that I checked my own phone. That cat charm was supposed to be on my phone. It was a gift from her when she'd confessed her feelings to me before we were married. But not in this twisted reality. Here, it was on her phone, because here, I had never accepted her confession. In that instant, I craved that cat charm more than all the jewels in the world. I had to get that small, insignificant thing back, no matter what it took. I have to find that elevator repairman. For the next few days, that was the only thought in my head. He was the only person who could know everything, why the elevator had malfunctioned, and how I could get back to my own world. I took a week off from work and just roamed around my apartment building. As expected, the management office knew nothing about a repairman like him. They claimed the elevator had never been broken, and that the next scheduled inspection wasn't for another month. Still, I didn't give up. I spent my time walking up and down the apartment stairs. I went to the roof. I went to the basement. I waited endlessly in the first-floor lobby late at night, staring at the elevator doors. It was all useless. All I earned were the suspicious gazes of the other residents. But on the night of the 7th day, as I was returning home with a convenience store bento box, I finally came face to face with it again. The under repair sign hanging on the elevator door. Who knew I'd be this happy to see a sign for a broken elevator? I studied the plastic sign carefully. It was, without a doubt, the same one I'd seen before. That meant the repairman had to be somewhere nearby.
You can't get in the elevator right now.
The voice came suddenly from behind me. I was so startled my legs nearly gave out, and I barely managed to catch my balance. The grotesque white face, the mismatched eyes, the pupils wandering in directions that made it impossible to know where he was looking. I couldn't even be sure he was speaking to me, though of course he had to be. There was no one else around. I noticed a small mirror installed above the elevator buttons and realized the repairman had no reflection. In any other situation, I would have run away screaming. But things were different now. This ghost-like man was my only hope. "I got on this broken elevator a week ago," I blurted out. "Ever since then, my whole world has been turned upside down. Please, just tell me how to get back." The repairman said nothing. He just scratched his head as if he were in a tight spot. "My wife married someone else. Do you understand what that means? This is a world where my wife married another man."
Your situation is tough, I get it, but it's hard to go back to your original world.
"Why?"
That's just how it is. It's true there was a problem with the elevator that day, but strictly speaking, you're the one who brought yourself here. This is the world you wanted.
The world I wanted? I couldn't understand. That I would want a world without my wife? Impossible. Life had been hectic with work, and we might have grown a little distant, but I had never, ever wanted a world without her. I couldn't live without her.
It's no use regretting it now,
He said, a twisted smile on his lips. Seeing that smile, I felt a surge of anger. I wanted to say something to threaten him, but what could a mere human say to intimidate a ghost? The words just tumbled out of my mouth. "If you're going to be this uncooperative, then I have other options," I said. "You're partly responsible for this disruption of the cosmic order in the first place. If you had just been doing your job properly that day, I never would have gotten on the elevator. Because you abandoned your post, I got on, and all this chaos followed. Am I wrong?" Huh? It seemed like my words were actually having an effect. The smile vanished from his face. He clearly didn't find my argument amusing. Emboldened, I pressed on. "I'm going to file a formal complaint about this incident." Even as I said it, I knew it sounded ridiculous. File a complaint? With whom? Anyone could see it was a bluff. But that didn't matter. The effect was undeniable. His face contorted in distress. His once white face took on a bluish tint. He even started to sweat.
Couldn't you just let that one slide?
He asked, almost pleading. "No, I can't. This is, without a doubt, your fault. I'm going to file a formal grievance for your negligence of duty, and I'll make sure you're never allowed to come near this place again." The poor elevator repairman put both hands on his head and thought for a long moment. Finally, he looked up.
Look, I get a penalty when an error like you occurs. It's easier for me to just send you back quietly before this gets any bigger. Fine, there is one way. But even if you use this method, I can't guarantee it'll return you to your world. It is, however, your only option. If this doesn't work, there's nothing more I can do.
And then the repairman told me the way. The next day, my vacation over, I returned to the office for the first time in a week. As soon as I sat down, I started waiting for quitting time. I couldn't focus on work at all. Every chance I got, I would get up and linger in front of the PR team's office, watching Soyeon through the glass. Completely oblivious to my spying, she either immersed herself in her work or laughed and chatted with the colleague next to her. A pang of heartache hit me as I watched. I wanted her back, no matter what it took. After what felt like an eternity, the workday was finally over. The second the clock hit 6 p.m., I shot up from my seat and bolted from the office. I secretly followed Soyeon as she left the building. It seemed she was taking the subway home. I called out to her right in front of the subway entrance. "Soyeon!" Startled, she spun around.
Minjin? What is it?
I forced a smile to try and put her at ease. "Could I see that cat charm again?"
What?
She looked at me, completely baffled. "I know this is a weird request," I said. "I just want to see it again, that's all. If you just do that for me, I won't bother you anymore." Suyeon's face turned red. She looked a little angry, and not just because my request was absurd. That cat charm was something she had handmade for me. But in this reality, I had refused the gift. I had rejected her confession. Is he trying to mess with me? That's what she had to be thinking. I put on my most serious expression, trying not to look like I was playing a joke. After a moment's hesitation, Suyeon sighed as if she had no choice, took her phone out of her bag, and showed me the charm. When I reached out to detach the strap from the phone case, she stopped me.
Don't do that. Just look with your eyes.
"Can't I just borrow it for a little while? Just for today," I pleaded. At that, Suyeon's pent-up frustration burst forth.
Hey, what do you think you're doing? Are you trying to make a fool of me? You casually ignored my feelings back then, so what is this now? You have no idea how hard that was for me. I worked so hard to get over you, so why are you pulling a stunt like this now? This is cruel.
I had expected this. I knew she wouldn't hand it over willingly. I had a plan for that. I felt sorry for the Suyeon of this world, but I had no other choice. Just before she could put the phone back in her bag, I managed to pinch the cat charm between my thumb and forefinger. She shook the phone, trying to make me let go. "I'm sorry, Suyeon," I whispered, then pulled a small pair of scissors from my pocket and quickly snipped the strap.
Ah!
Suyeon let out a short scream. "I'm sorry, Suyeon!" I yelled, louder this time. Then, clutching the cat charm tightly in my hand, I turned and ran without a second thought. Suyeon, unsure how to react, could only stare blankly at my retreating back. She didn't scream, "Stop, thief!" Perhaps, on some level, she thought it was mine to begin with. I went over the elevator repairman's words in my head.
You have to be holding an object that symbolizes your original world,
He had said. The object would act as a guide during the dimensional shift. The moment I heard that, I had thought of the cat charm. That, more than anything, was the symbol of my original world. 11:59 p.m. I stood in front of the elevator in the first-floor lobby. The repairman had told me that at the stroke of midnight, a dimensional door would open for about 1 minute. I had to use that window to quickly get on the elevator. Finally, the under repair sign appeared. I pressed the up button. The elevator didn't respond. Each second crawled by like an hour. Just as I began to suspect something had gone wrong, the doors slid open. I leaped inside. Now, all I had to do was clutch the cat charm tightly, close my eyes, and desire with all my being the world I wanted to return to. The doors closed. The bizarre sensation returned. The feeling that the elevator, which should have been going up, was instead plummeting into the deep basement. A wave of vertigo washed over me. I dropped to the floor. I squeezed my eyes shut and thought of my original world. I summoned every moment I had with my wife. The tremor I felt when we first held hands. Her face laughing through tears at my clumsy proposal. Her voice as we vowed forever at our wedding. The sight of us laughing on the sofa while watching TV. Our intimate embraces. The elevator shook with a deafening roar. The lights flickered wildly amidst a screech of static. The digital numbers indicating the floor dissolved into unrecognizable symbols, flashing rapidly. The elevator wasn't going up or down, A horrifying sensation, as if space-time itself were being twisted, consumed my entire body. I wanted to open my eyes in terror, but I gritted my teeth and held on, thinking only of my wife's face, of the world I had to return to. The shaking grew more and more violent until, with a great clank, the elevator began to truly fall. Something has gone wrong, I realized. My last thought before I lost consciousness was, "Love you." When I opened my eyes again, I was in my bed. My entire body felt heavy and sore, like waterlogged cotton. With a low groan, I slowly pried my eyes open. The morning sunlight streaming through the window was dazzling against my eyelids. Outside, the sky was clear, without a single cloud. Everything felt unrealistically peaceful. I lay there staring at the ceiling, bewildered, as I tried to piece together the memories of last night. Was it all a dream? Then I felt it. The emptiness on the other side of the bed. I shot upright. The space next to me, where my wife should have been, was cold and empty. A wave of despair was about to crash over me when the bedroom door burst open.
Honey, still sleeping?
It was Soyeon who entered with that familiar nagging tone. My wife.
I know it's the weekend, but how can you still be sleeping when the sun is this high? Get up and eat.
Soyeon, you...
What about me? I got back from my business trip late last night. You were snoring your head off, so I didn't wake you. The trip went well, so don't worry. Now hurry up, get washed up, and come out.
And then she spun around and headed for the kitchen. I stared blankly at her retreating back, then fell back onto the bed, a breath escaping my lungs that I didn't realize I'd been holding. It wasn't a dream. Everything was back in its place. We sat across from each other at the table over a simple breakfast of toast and fried eggs. Soyeon chattered on about her trip, and I chimed in occasionally, never taking my eyes from her face. I was realizing with a bone-deep clarity just how precious this ordinary breakfast, this warm sunlight, truly was. That's when my phone, lying on the corner of the table, caught my eye. Attached to it was the strap with the cat charm, the one I had so desperately wanted. I picked up the phone and looked at it again, closely. The black eyes, the little ears, the round face. Everything was just as I remembered. But it wasn't. Looking closer, I could see faint markings of a different color on its cheeks. The face I thought was round was subtly angular, and the tail, which should have been sleek, was plump and striped. It wasn't a cat. It was a raccoon. Slowly, I raised my head and looked at my wife. Her smile felt somehow brighter than usual.